Ladies and gentlemen, we are here on the storied campus of UCLA for a very special episode of PCWB. We are going to go around and introduce ourselves. I am your co-host, Michael Knight.
And I'm your co-host, Samir. And we have some amazing people right now in this house.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, and I'm your other co-host, Sepehr, Vakil. Super fun to be here. This is my alma mater. I love this place.
Yeah.
Happy to be here with Mike and Samir. And I'm just honored to be here with one of my intellectual heroes and kind of mentors from afar, Dr.
Don't you have to be old to be a mentor? It's fine. I'll take it. Okay. No, we're starting off right. We're starting off right.
Dr. Safia Noble, welcome. I'm just going to do a couple just to introduce the uninitiated.
Okay, keep it short.
I have no choice because it's long. But you know, Dr. Noble, for those who know her, needs no introduction. She is a absolute legend in the field of science and technology studies, has produced some of the most seminal scholarship. It's like I feel like I've known your work for so long, I can't even date it to when I know.
But you're dating.
No, I'm dating.
You are dating. So long. Centuries.
It feels like it was yesterday, though.
Right. I just read you last week. That's what you're supposed to say.
It's fresh in my mind.
For those of you guys who don't know, we just want to just let you know, since Sepehr originally went to school here, this is his home area. Ever since we landed here, he has just been roasting everyone. And so that's
Sepehr outside of Chicago is a problem.
He's feeling himself right now, isn't he? I like that.
He's really rolling to UCLA. It's the weather, it's the warm, it's the
welcome home.
Yeah,
Welcome home.
thank you.
We're in LA, and he keeps reminding us that he's from LA.
Yes.
It's like we're here.
We got it. We got it.
Thank you.
I mean,
oh, you ate a hoagie on the corner right there. Amazing.
You know how enjoyable it was to introduce Samir to the palm tree? It was very fun.
Hey, you see those shoes hanging off that telephone pole?
My shoes. I threw those up there.
No, I did study here for undergrad and grad school. I did engineering. I didn't know you, Sophia, back then. But I'm in education, and a lot of my work as guests of the show and friends of the show know deals with questions of ethics and power and technology. And Dr. Noble is a leading, global scholar in this area. Just to kind of put a little fine point on it, endowed chair of social sciences and professor here at UCLA, director of the Center on Resilience and Digital Justice, and co-director of the Mindaru Initiative on Tech and Power, currently serving as the director of the DataX Initiative, leading work in critical data studies for the campus. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm really excited. I think to be here. I hope I don't get in the roasting line though, so I'm going to try to stay cool.
A little known fact, and by the time this comes out, it'll already be in the past. But she will be jumping into the comedy realm, from what I hear.
Breaking news
the
with that
rumor,
one.
Breaking news.
rumor is she's going to be one of us.
I'm trying.
This is breaking news. I'm
It is
actually excited.
breaking news.
Has it
I
been
know.
shared on any other? Will this be?
I'm trying not to tell the streets what I'm up to.
So this is alleged.
You know how this happened to
You are
me?
telling.
We did our first live taping of this podcast last year, and the two guests, we had two guests at that time. One of them was Zainab Johnson. She's one of the most incredible comedians.
Who will be tonight at the Comedy Store.
She's at the Comedy Store. She's one of our favorites, and she's LA based. We flew her out. She was our guest of honor, and then we put her in conversation with my wife, Dr. Kiana Mariah Ross.
Oh, she's amazing.
And so these two, it was a great episode. We had it was our first time with a live audience, and without alerting me ahead of time, Mike shared with everyone that, by the way, Sepehr's been getting his feet wet, and up until that point, it was sort of it wasn't a secret, but it was sort of like I was kind of doing it on my own terms. But from then on, everyone, and so it comes up now, like at every faculty meeting, someone's like, so by the way, Sepehr, how's that? How's it going?
So you're telling me don't tell Mike my secrets.
No,
obviously.
do not commit a crime with me.
We are on camera right now.
She did it.
Your Honor. I don't want to say any names, but
So the Dr. Safia Noble is doing, when I found this out from Dr. Pedro Nogueira, which is another one of the giants in the field of education, who was going to hopefully be. We're looking forward to having him on the podcast.
Yes.
When he dropped that news to me, it was just like all the things connecting, right? Because I know we both are working in this space, and we know, the Kapoor Foundation and Allison, and we're both in education, and we're both doing work on tech, and to have you also be doing, when I learned that, I was just, so can you, so what's going on with that?
Okay. Well, listen, I mean, anyone who's ever come to my talks knows, first of all, I write about the worst dimensions of the internet. And when you write about the worst dimensions of the internet, you can really break an audience down quickly. Like it's easy to flatline an audience or students or whoever it is you're communicating with. So for years, I have always kind of broken up my talks and my work with just little sidebar jokes and things, just levity. To kind of, just to make it digestible. And I'm funny with my friends. My husband's a hater, and he's always like, "You're not funny," because hater. But he finally has admitted that I am a little bit funny. And so I thought, well, we are up against so much right now with the tech industry and society, and there's so many dangers, and we need to get this knowledge out here to more people, and we need to do it with better stories and more accessibility. So I'm on sabbatical right now, even though I'm here at work with you all.
Thank you for
it's fine. And I am, as part of my sabbatical, I'm taking a comedy class, and I'm learning stand-up because I just want to figure out, can I tell killer jokes about the tech industry that, help us think a little bit better, but also there's a lot to make fun of. So here I am.
I've heard that a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down.
That's
now,
right.
a question, because in every other scenario in my life, I don't have access to talk to you with your wealth of knowledge. Now, I throw around words like algorithm.
Yeah.
And I feel like I say it in the right context. I don't know what it means. Yeah. I've never looked up the definition.
How are you using it then? You're like, I'll have an algorithm with my latte.
Yeah.
Okay.
Distinguishable? I don't know what that means. I just say it because it has a lot of syllables.
It has. It's true.
It's the big system that runs the internet. It's the boogeyman that checks out to see, is this good enough to push it out? No, I don't think so.
I like
That's
that.
what I think of.
But we're in the age
now. Definition too.
Definition, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, technically an algorithm is like directions you give to a computer for it to compute and run it through a decision tree. I mean, and do exactly what you said, push more of this out or withhold that, right? Or give you approval on a loan or not, or let you into school or not, right? They get deployed in all kinds of different contexts. But ultimately, they are really about the directions and the values that we program computers with. And it's funny because when I first started, this book, Algorithms of Oppression, was a project that grew out of my PhD dissertation in 2012. And I remember getting my first book contract with NYU Press. And I said, well, I want to name this book Algorithms of Oppression. And my editor was like, absolutely not. No one knows what an algorithm is.
Wow.
She was talking about you. And obviously she knew. And she said, no, we're not doing that. And I proceeded to, for the next 5 years until the book came out, name every single talk that I gave for 5 years Algorithms of Oppression.
I like that.
And by then, the world had kind of caught up and the zeitgeist had caught up. And also I had been like, if you just Googled my name, Algorithms of Oppression came up with it for all the talks. And so part of the work was also like mainstreaming words like algorithm. Obviously artificial intelligence is getting heavily mainstreamed right now too, but we do need to be asking the question, what are these things?
Because is my algorithm me feeding me, or is it somebody else feeding me? If I talk about cats right now 7 times in a row, I expect cats to be in my feed in the next
People are like
3 days.
experimenting with their algorithms.
Yes.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, to some degree, it's responding to you, but really you're not in control of it. No, that would not be accurate. I think the tech companies themselves are in charge of the algorithm, and they're collecting as much data as they can on you in order to feed you the ad tech, the advertisements that they want you to see.
Is that the same as like the casinos putting the light here on the slot machine and not having a clock and having all these things, not no right angle walls to keep me?
You know a lot about
pulling in
casinos. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've definitely made some investment. That's here nor there. So, but when you say algorithms of oppression, can you speak more to the oppression aspect in that title?
Well, it's really, your example is right in terms of there's a type of behavioral modification or manipulation that happens in certain environments that prioritize certain kinds of things. In that case, in that scenario, certain machines that are never going to pay out. Right? I mean, what I was studying back in 2011, 2012 was what happens when people are more reliant upon something like a search engine as a type of AI, early AI, more than they are a teacher or a book or a library or other kinds of knowledge systems that humanity has grown up with. And I was looking and I was seeing, when you did Google searches on different kinds of communities and identities, you would get back, for example, with Black women, Latinas, Asian women and girls, you'd get back almost exclusively pornography. And like, so what does it mean that people get misrepresented in these ways? Like, it's not like the Black girls are like, oh yeah, porn, that's a fair representation, right? Who's looking for that? Who's the imagined audience for those kinds of results? What does it mean that we lose control of how ideas get represented and people get represented in these kind of systems? And we have the same problems fast forward today with large language models that misrepresent people and ideas factually, incorrectly, and otherwise. And to me, that's the oppression part, is that we live inside systems that not only misrepresent us, but that misrepresentation is consequential, because living in a society that misrepresents people of color makes it easier to discriminate against us, deny us our rights, roll back our civil rights, dehumanize us, right? And these are the kinds of things that these systems are also doing. And that's what my book really sought to excavate. Yeah.
Where are things now I know there's been changes, right, to the search engines, and some of it is attributable to the conversation that I think your book started. But how would you characterize what's shifted with search engines in particular, and what do you attribute those changes to?
Well, I think that one thing that's interesting about search is that obviously it's being kind of displaced to some degree, especially by younger people with large language models like ChatGPT and Gemini and these kinds of products. And, but also social media. It's interesting to see, for example, I know you know this even better than I do, young people who are like, why would I use a search engine when I could go on TikTok and just see what real people are saying rather than what a company gives me as a rank order? So some things are changing, like in the zeitgeist around how people access information, what they trust. There's a lot more understanding now that search is ad tech and that social media is ad tech. And so people are a little more interested in what real people, so to speak, have to say. I think this is one of the reasons why things like deep fakes and AI generated or looking people are really important and a hot commodity to the advertising industry, because they know that people actually want to hear from people after years of knowing they've been manipulated by social media or search technologies. So that's certainly changing. But the more things change, the more they stay the same too, because I think we're seeing, I don't know, like 50% of the kinds of things that come back, information that comes back in a large language model is just factually incorrect. The big companies for whom these chatbots were designed are rejecting them. They're saying like, look, these chatbots are not giving us the kind of efficiencies that were promised, and it's actually creating
big
more
study
work.
Just came out of MIT.
Yes,
to that point, yeah.
30% more labor that they have to hire to just check the truthfulness or veracity of what comes back from a large language model. So in those ways, the unreliability persists.
And yet there's billions of dollars still being invested.
Yeah.
Are we in some kind of a bubble? Is AI going to be a bubble that's going to but still transform, or do we think this is going to? What's your projection if we were to think about 5 years from now? Are we still going to be in this kind of AI moment that it feels like we've been in it for the last couple years now?
It's a good question because I think this kind of like coheres with politics in the U.S. I mean, we are for sure in an AI hype cycle right now, no question. Will the bubble burst? I don't know, because the AI hype cycle and the tech industry are deeply implicated in things like the rise of authoritarianism, enabling fascism, and the kind of right-wing politics around the world. So what we do in terms of those of us who are lovers of democracy, let's say, or civil rights or human rights, what we do will say a lot about how long these kinds of projects persist. I mean, I do think that people see the way in which these technologies are manipulating society, and they feel manipulated. People are like, my child doesn't come out of their room. They're just in there on the, I'm worried. Absolutely. My kids are withdrawing. They don't read anymore. They don't read books. Like, there are fundamental things about like the texture and quality of humanity, right? That people are dialed into and are worried about. Depression and anxiety is off the charts. We know that these technologies are implicated in that. So it will be interesting to see if people say, I'm stepping away. I mean, we saw mass exodus of young people from Facebook. So no one ever, Facebook didn't expect that. Right. So who's to say? Of course, we can only pray for the bubble to burst.
And I guess the question I have is like the policies, right, of who's controlling what goes out and what goes in, especially like, the Meta or even Instagram or TikTok or X, right, by Elon Musk. Like, so who's controlling it? And the thing is, would that matter? Because we're seeing right now people in power can control what goes out and what's censored, as opposed to. So then my question, 5 years from now, would that be very highly controlled by a certain select group of people, or would it be kind of within the government to disperse and figure it out?
Well, in the United States, we have the least regulation around tech. And this is a place where you come, like some of the worst actors in the world with the worst kinds of technology. They come and do it in the United States because they have protection by Section 230 and other kinds of communications policy. I think right now we are for sure seeing more, I just have to say it, kind of like fascist control, authoritarian control. Being implemented, some of the worst actors in Silicon Valley having more and more power. So Palantir, for example, now being in charge of all government information and data collection on all Americans and beyond. That seems pretty intense. Being able to reconcile every bank transaction with every purchase, with everything you've ever liked or looked at on social media, all your geolocation, building extensive digital dossiers on everyone. And, those things in the hands of authoritarian governments are very, very dangerous. So I guess the question again is in, a year from now, will we try to reclaim some dimensions of democracy, or will we continue to further, cede voting rights and all kinds of other, First Amendment rights, free speech norms, like all kinds of things? Will we just continue to let those slide? It's a really important moment right now where it's not just the tech industry deciding, it's also how the public is responding and how government is moving.
To piggyback off of that, I believe it is a very important moment right there. But also, are we giving the keys to the demon, right? Because I sign off terms and conditions when I download these apps, and the most I've been getting lately is, hey, this app wants to track everything that you're doing on your phone all the time ever. Ask app not to track, let it track. It doesn't even pretend anymore. It says ask app. I can ask you not to step on my sneakers. Doesn't mean you're not going to step on my. I'm just asking you not to. Right. Like, they're barely hiding it. And the terms and conditions, I've never read terms.
Yeah,
I
yeah, of
just,
course.
I don't
think
know
you're
what I'm
I think
signing
you're
away
raising a
on.
really interesting point, right? It's like how much, and this maybe gets at the importance of the public narrative and reaching broader audiences. How much do we think regular people? I guess I have two sides to this. On the one hand, I feel like there's a growing national, societal understanding and recognition that these big tech companies are up to no good, right? And I think, especially in this moment with the unprecedented alliance between big tech and Silicon Valley and the Trump administration, it's sort of in clear view, right? On the other hand, in terms of daily practices and daily behavior, I would argue most people are just continue. There's not a resistance at the level of like how people are engaging. People are still using social media. People are still using AI. They might be open to a conversation about, let's say, the environmental harms of big data centers, or how, Zuckerberg is, and Elon Musk are in cahoots with. But is it shifting individual practices? Are more people recycling, right? Or is it that it's an intellectual conversation that hasn't yet seeped into like, oh no, we should be really, really mindful of how much power we're giving this thing.
Yeah, I don't think it's part of our everyday.
Yeah.
And I think that the more institutions, the more your school or your job gives you these products and says use them as part of how we do business here now, the more people will. Because what are you supposed to do if your job is to do some type of analysis, and your boss gives you ChatGPT and says, here, this will like help you do it faster. You're going to do it and you're going to use it. So no, I mean, I don't think everyday people are in these conversations yet. But, there was a time when people also weren't on board with the techlash, right? I mean, I would say about 2017 was our first big techlash, and people were like, wait a minute. And I think we will move in cycles with these things. The more failure also people see in these systems, the more caution they have. And I think that's another area where I worry that we pay too high a price in order to get to that awareness. And I see this because I work with and talk to families who've lost a child from cyberbullying or something happening to them on the internet. And I talk to parents and teachers all the time who are worried about what's happening with the psyche of young people. And I just see it with my own students where I'm like, hey, don't write your paper with ChatGPT because, you're cheating yourself the ability to, but they also have real questions like, well, if I can write the paper with ChatGPT, why don't I just do that?
Right.
And I'm like, well, and I kind of do the same thing I do with them with in the Google days when I was writing about search. I'd say, well, you could also just Google for the rest of your life. Why are you going to college? And then they're like, retort. Okay, wait, what?
But if I could ask, how do you compete with baseball? Might be the most boring sports.
100%.
Go Sox. But might be one of the most boring sports. But there was a time where Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds, and Mark McGwire had testosterone and steroids dripping out of their armpits, right? And they were cracking 1,380-foot home runs.
And people were loving it.
And I was tuned in, right? There was Buddy Live Strong on the bicycle.
Yep.
Lance Armstrong.
And what did they say? Everybody else is on steroids. Shout out to Nick and Nate Diaz. I mean, they're NorCal, but they're UFC fighters, and they say everybody's on steroids. And if you're gonna compete at the top, how are you gonna tell me that everybody's on steroids and I'm gonna be natural? There's only so far I can necessarily get. And you're here. You're on the cusp. One of the most widely known universities in the entire world, and you've seen the course of students who now have access to all these things. What is it doing to ingenuity, to creativity, to human connectedness that now they have? Why would I need to learn Chinese arithmetic when I can just boop, 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 boop,
right,
and figure it out?
Right.
What is not to have you call out any students or say anything, but have you seen a change is it even helpful? Is this they have an opportunity to stand on the shoulders of giants and see even farther, or is it taken away?
Well, I'll just say that I love the students because today's students are really asking tough questions about the world, right? And including the technologies, but also
I love that.
politics and art and everything, the environment. And I think that they're intellectually curious. And so, of course, they're trying everything. One thing I will say that I've noticed, though, is we've had now 2 generations at least of students kind of in this No Child Left Behind paradigm of, getting all A's and getting the 4.5 GPA to out of high school, which, was not even a thing when I was in, absolutely not. I was like, isn't a B good enough? I don't know, but I didn't go to UCLA, obviously. So, I think one of the things that I see with students is these technologies push them more and more to having the right answer and feeling like, what is the right answer? How do I get the most points? How do I make sure that I'm correct? Which is, I think, the enemy of creativity and failure and experimentation and those kinds. So they're far less likely to be okay with failing,
Right.
and I'm sure we all see this. They have a lot of anxiety and concern about not getting it right, including life, not getting life right. Whereas, nothing could be more perplexing to a Gen X faculty who's like, was there even going to be a system when we grew up? For us, I think like getting straight A's wasn't really the project of life. So in that way, I think some of these things push them more and more to like perfection in a way at a time when what we need is like radical reimagination, not of all the stuff from the past and not of all the facts from before, but of like, how can you take what we've learned from the past and give us something brand new? Because the world needs so many other kinds of solutions and ideas and possibilities. And that tension is the place where I like to be with them. I ask them all the time, I would say, listen, when you come into class, you don't have to transcribe every single thing that we're saying.
Just be
right?
present.
Just listen, just be. And that is very difficult for a lot of students because we are training them up with a lot of these models to
the good student is the one who's
get it
taking
right.
notes and
Yes. Getting the AI to listen so that they don't miss a word. And I think that we're seeing, you saw that big MIT study recently, students who are power users of AI for like note-taking and ChatGPT, 40% cognitive decline. 40% cognitive decline. So that's what's at stake in terms of actually, like, I try to get them, just close the laptop, get out a pen and a piece of paper, just listen.
And you said it earlier too, I think, and I use this in my class because we're all, a new quarter starting at UCLA.
Yes.
We just started at Northwestern, and the same dilemma we're faced with was, what do we do? What's the AI policy for the class? How are you going to regulate? And I've found that the most powerful thing that we can do as faculty is to just tell the students, you're here for a short 4 years.
Tiny.
Do you really want to miss out on the opportunity to learn? You really want to have, it's like that kind of moral, almost like you can probably use it, and you can, and the AI detection systems are also flawed. So faculty don't really have a way to detect if students are using AI to write their assignments. And there's ways you can kind of govern it and create some rules but ultimately I've found an appeal to like, this is your experience. You're the one paying for this. I'm still paying my debt from UCLA, right? Like, do you really if you're paying for it, don't you want the experience to be, like, if I go to a comedy club and watch you guys' show, I could probably find an AI model that could be there instead of myself and then come back and tell me what did Mike and Samir say? I missed the whole experience. The whole experience is to be there, to be present.
It's true.
Another thing that you said, Safiya, around, which actually gives me hope. Okay, so let me bring it back a little bit. When I was a student at UCLA, engineering student, Bolter Hall. Shout out Bolter Hall.
Love it.
Electrical engineering. And I was like in an AI lab
Awesome.
with Dr. Ali Syed in the Adaptive Systems Laboratory. Had a good experience. But I came in weeks after 9/11 happened. And many people have heard me tell the story. Weeks after 9/11, and when I was a student here, the war on Iraq started. Right? Big protests on this campus. One of the things that I found to be really troubling was the role of military contracts in the engineering department. So much of the engineering research, the cutting edge research, was being funded by the Raytheons and Department of Defense.
Right.
And so there was this massive push towards innovation that was being guided by the interests of the U.S. military at the same exact moment when there was this huge protest against war and militarism on the college campus. But at that time, there wasn't this intellectual curiosity amongst students, engineering students, about the ethics of technology.
Yeah.
Right? And the hopeful side of me, and I'm kind of asking the question because I see it a little bit at Northwestern, and there's some research that points to it, which is that the students right now who are protesting Palestine and protesting the environment and thinking about AI, there's this new conversation that shows us that there's an intellectual curiosity about what the hell's going on with tech that didn't exist 20 years ago. Is that something that you're seeing on campus? Do you see that?
For sure, the students are asking the questions about what's going on with tech, and they are making all kinds of connections, because when ICE is on campus, they understand how these technologies are being used by ICE, right? Or facial recognition, or campus police are using license plate readers, and all of these different kinds of things, like phishing, looking for people. And students, I think, are pretty aware, at least, as a ethos in this generation of young college students, for sure. That doesn't mean, though, that they have pathways educationally to work on these things. And this has really, to me, been a huge focus this last few years for me at UCLA, is trying to figure out, if you are a person who cares, let's say you like to program, or you don't really love math, but you're math literate, you're interested in this intersection between data and society. Can you have a career in that? Can you have an impact? And, I just, we have a new report coming out of UCLA that I did with a colleague who led, Jessica Peak from our law school, led this study out of my center. And we surveyed undergraduate students about their interest in public interest technology kinds of jobs, rather than going to work in a big tech company. And these are people who want to work on tech and they want to work on society, but they see no clear pathways on how to do that. And I think this is a huge opportunity for American universities to build the majors, build the graduate programs, get students who are savvy about, they care about the environment, they care about politics, they care about society, they care about the economy, their own sense of future, and they know tech is implicated, but they don't get to come and sit and study with people like me and you, because we don't really offer the degree programs that allow them to go deep and get deep expertise. And so I'm very excited about trying to do that
much.
here.
I love that so much.
You create an intersect between AI.
Yeah, I mean, we have the new master's program. We just launched a new master's program at Northwestern in the School of Education and Social Policy called the Masters in Technology, People, and Policy.
Awesome.
And it's exactly what you're talking about. But I'm even more, so I'm excited for graduate degree programs, because there are people, to your point, who are interested in tech, but don't want to. I have a line for my dissertation. There was a young Latina girl in Oakland in a computer science academy, a 10th grader, one of the sharpest computer science students in the computer science academy. She had a chip on her shoulder. She was an activist, a feminist. She had a copy of Bell Hooks tucked under her arm at all times. And when we interviewed her about, what do you want to do after college? Are you going to pursue computer science? She said, no, I don't want to be a sellout. That means so much, right? What is it about the image of computer science or the tech disciplines more broadly that in the mind of a 16-year-old or 15-year-old kid who's inclined towards technology is choosing not to go down that route because in her mind, doing so would be equivalent to selling out her community. Because in the Bay Area, there's such a connection between the big tech companies and all the gentrification that's happening.
Yes.
So this idea of we need to create alternative pathways so kids who are as early as like really middle school, because computer science education is now not only in high school and middle school, it's even starting at elementary school.
It's
right,
true.
which I think is cool. I think I'm in favor of that as long as there are parallel efforts and pathways that are saying, hey, you can go into tech but become a journalist and write about tech and hold tech accountable, or you can go into tech and become a lawyer or become a social scientist and study the social you don't have to only do tech if you want to have a job for Meta or what have you.
It's
so
true.
I do see that as an opportunity. Do our institutions recognize that as an opportunity?
No, we need all the money because unfortunately, to your point, when you have infusions of $500 million of federal contracts coming into computer science departments, or you have huge infusions of hundreds of millions of dollars coming into law schools around the country, so engineering schools and law schools that have mostly been kind of captured by the tech industry, so to speak, and you don't have a parallel infusion of resource into the social sciences or the humanities, then it's very difficult to scale up those kinds of programs and schools at universities. So of course we really, really need that. And we also need it because we need pro-social technologies in our societies, right? How are you going to build democratic technologies that respect human rights, that respect civil rights? And you don't have people who understand. To give you a line from the dissertation, one of my lines was, you have no business designing technology for society and you know nothing about society, which is actually what happens in an engineering school. No shade to engineering. They do the things that we also need, but we also need people who deeply understand society and people and history and legacies and systems of oppression and discrimination and remediation of those problems. We also need them working in tech and working on new kinds of technologies. And we have very, very few companies and products that are pro-social tech. And I actually think there's a huge market for it. People want it, but venture capital doesn't invest in it. So we're going to have to get creative.
How do you I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
How do you compete with that constant drip of what do they call it when you're getting the positive feedback when you're playing video games?
Reinforcement.
How do you compete with that in a scholastic format? Because I've heard it said, if the product is free, you're the product.
That's right.
So when I'm on Instagram, it costs me nothing, but it finds a way to keep me looped in. And how do you get that message across to kids like, hey, be a part of the world? When I have a son and he's been telling me about this new Grand Theft Auto is supposed to drop and change the world. And it is literally just a reimagining of your life. Instead of living your life, you live your life, but in the game. And then you get your achievements there, and if it goes bust, you just start the game over and you instantly get another shot at everything. And you can build an empire. And what blows my mind is you can spend relatively the same amount of time building yourself up in that game that you could use to build yourself up in life.
Yeah.
But it's how do you compete with these phones, especially if you go to the grocery store and you see a kid barely can walk straight holding a phone in the grocery cart, already being trained? How do you convince that kid, hey, not only come to UCLA, but learn about the humanitarian arts, learn about how to interact with other human beings in real life? How do you, and what's going to happen to the next? You two are phenomenal. I know you personally. I've heard and read tremendous things about you. This next batch of kids coming up that are going to be the professors in 10, 15 years that grew up with this technology, what is their perspective on where this technology is going to be at that point in time?
Well, this is like, I can't help but think of this like in a systems way. If you don't have access to the arts, you don't have enough access to nature, you don't have enough access to play, you will seek the dopamine,
That's
the
right.
serotonin flow from, in these other, I'm not even going to call them like artificial or synthetic. I mean, this is a real thing that we can really touch. But it is important for us to create a world where every park isn't private and where people can gather and be, and you don't have to spend money in order to do that, right? And we've seen I'm Gen X, so I grew up in a different time when you got art in elementary school for free, and it wasn't something that your parents had to pay for privately after school, right? Which is kind of the paradigm of today. So I think we have to think about what other outlets do we make as voters, as people who live in neighborhoods, as people who live in communities, for young people and for old people, for ourselves, to participate meaningfully in life. That feels important. And I know we got a glimpse of how important that was, because when we were lockdown during COVID, and COVID is still going on, but when we were in the crisis point, weren't we all just dying to go barbecue with each other? Like, we just wanted to be together because we were so over doing everything by the computer, middle class people, at least.
Absolutely.
For sure, right?
And I think that in this moment with AI and everything going on, there's a hunger. I think Safiya and I both feel this. That's why we're going to the comedy clubs. There's a hunger for human connection.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even in this moment where we're seeing, what was the data that you shared with me? How many, what percent of students are using AI now at the high school level? Like it's
like 30% are using these companion AI.
Right. So they're using these, but I think there's a growing awareness that these are, the fact that I have 2 teenage stepdaughters, right? And the fact that you have this generation of youth doing like social media diets shows that they are themselves aware that something is off, that they're not. And so I think there is a hunger. Maybe this coincides with, we talk about the explosion of comedy as an art form. I at least partially attribute that to a societal desire for authentic, in-person, fully human experiences that aren't really mediated. And I guess I do see comedy as one of these art forms. We can talk about the arts and AI and how much the AI is kind of infringing on the arts. Comedy seems to me, I'm curious to know, Samir and Mike, what you guys think, as sort of one of the art forms that's the most protected from the kind of the tentacles of AI. But I know it's not like it's completely protected, because there's social media and there's the algorithm question. But as an art form in its purest, tonight Mike is performing tonight at the Hollywood Chateau. People aren't on their phones.
So
right?
I'll even before I even get to the comedy aspect of how AI is shaping comedy too, in a way, like I'll even ask to like the idea of the next generation are so invested in technology. I think because I have younger siblings, I have a 7 years old sibling, a 7 years old, and then 9, both heavily on their phones, on their iPads. But what I've noticed is like the idea of boredom. Like no one could tolerate being bored a bit, right? Because I travel a bit. So like when I was like in Cairo, Egypt, for example, back when I was younger, there was a time where there's no video games. There's just nothing but the pure silence. So you have to learn to embrace that a little bit,
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
But that also sometimes create creativity, right? Thoughts.
Yes.
And you think and you observe and come up with these random thoughts and etc. But now, every second it's like I have to be entertained either through social media
or my parents taking me to the next activity.
But the boredom is like,
we're all just
I
Uber
can't
drivers.
tolerate that. So how do we and that's why I like the idea of those like places now where phones are off limit that you go to. There's like places in Chicago you go to, right? But even that, you're socializing with people, you're interacting with the environment, not your phone, right? So how do we go back to a place where we need to be okay with sometime being bored,
I love that, Samir. That's a
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, the value of boredom, I mean, is so. It's interesting because when you look at the tech elites, like the people who run the tech companies, you know, they have nanny agreements where the nannies cannot put the kids on social media. They can't be on phones. They keep them off of
Isn't that
computers.
something?
Isn't that deep? Because they know how addictive
And what's the name of that school?
these
Isn't it
products.
the Waldorf?
Waldorf school.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have these kinds of, well, you know this from education. There's this great book written by the last name, the author is Finn, and the book is called Literacy with an Attitude. And one of the things that Finn talks about in this book is he says, listen, working class kids, poor kids, go to school in rows of desks and they take multiple choice exams, and they learn how to kind of pick the right answer because they're being trained for the assembly line or for like to
to be
clock in,
obedient,
to be obedient workers. And the middle class kids go, to middle class schools, and they sit in a pod like us,
Right.
and they make a PowerPoint presentation. So if the poor kids are doing the study on Machu Picchu, it's the multiple choice exam on Machu Picchu, and the middle class kids do a PowerPoint presentation on Machu Picchu, and they get up and present to each other because they're going to be the managerial class who has to manage people. But the children of the elites, what do? They go to Machu Picchu and they learn about Machu Picchu in
Right.
Machu Picchu.
That's right.
And it's so powerful because
right.
it's like what's good for you all is not what we're going to do
That's right.
with our kids and our families. And I find that to be like so powerful, right? This idea of what is pushed on
That's right.
us to become consumers versus people who can insulate themselves. They're even talking about boredom and device-free environments as a new luxury status in the world. Like it's
Wow.
like luxury status to be device-free or to be in these kind of non-surveilled
Counterculture.
states. Isn't that powerful?
Yeah.
It's like the new
Yeah.
Hennessy. I don't know.
Sure,
Like,
yeah,
what
yeah.
is it? You know what I'm saying? Like, is this for
Hennessy
real?
Digital. to speak to it, so to speak to it, it kind of, I have a feeling of who the drivers are. To speak back to the title of your book, the algorithm of oppression. You take a look at who are the creators of this software, and then you just look at the C-suite and see who's sitting on the top, and then that that can kind of speak to the environment and the culture that they're building. But to what end would you say are these algorithms targeting us? I mean, they're getting our data. They're keeping us locked in. They're keeping our heads down. They're making sure we don't know our way around our own city without being plugged in. They're making sure that, we can't find a room, find a cafe, engage with friends, take a picture, or just take a look at the California sunset without capturing it and then putting a little 9x6 screen in front of your face saying, look at how amazing. No, I don't see it. These are pixels on my phone, but it seemed like it was nice. Like you can't even interact with your own life without. I'm a victim of it too. Don't let me come off sounding all high and mighty. You know what I mean?
I did it this morning.
Mike has a
I
high
do
quality
it for the
life,
gram, too.
better than ours.
But what is the goal? If I'm sitting at the top if I'm sitting in a room with Sam Altman right now and I'm saying, hey, we just nailed it this quarter, what did we nail? Where are we achieving?
Yeah, profit at all cost. I mean, that's really, it's interesting too, because when you think about it, U.S. economic policy, what Wall Street requires is for for-profit companies to be profitable. You have an obligation to shareholders to maximize profit. We know there are many lawsuits going. I have colleagues who are expert witnesses in major lawsuits with social media firms. They know that their products are dangerous and faulty, harmful, and even those payouts are just the cost of doing business. So you think, I won't name which company, but one of the biggest tech companies a few years ago, they budgeted about $2 billion a year for risk, for settling lawsuits. So $2 billion just a year to settle lawsuits from what they knew the harm would be.
We can do the math.
Yeah,
We can
just
take the penalty.
pay the fines.
Pay the fines.
Yeah.
Would you say that the devil we know is better than the devil we don't? Because every major nation is gonna have this technology, right? Are we better? Because that came up not too long ago, where there's a particular social media app that's widely used. Everybody knows the name, and it's based out of it rhymes with knick-knock.
Okay.
So, but it's based out of a certain place, right? And then there was a big to do
We're at the point where we
about.
can't say China.
It's
about to be based here, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure, right? And so
And that's new, and that's recent news too,
as of
right?
a few days ago.
Because wasn't there a moment there where everybody was like, well, I'm going to sign up for their version on their side because middle finger to the devil that I know. I'd rather go in that direction.
What was the name of their app? Their version of it? Yeah, that everyone signed on to for a minute when
it was the same. It was the same name. It was DeepSeek.
DeepSeek. Yep.
Yeah, and everybody was like, I'll just go sign up for them.
For the general audience, this is TikTok we're talking about.
Yes, it is.
Oh,
you.
I don't know.
Thank
I took
you.
a left on Subtext Avenue and ended up on Spell It Out. What is the cat's out of the bag at this point? Are we looking at regulation? Are we looking at self-regulation? Are we putting the onus on the parents? Are we putting the onus on places of higher learning? Are we putting the onus on the government?
Yeah, I mean, every nation state is taking this up differently. I was just with colleagues this morning from Australia.
That's what sabbatical looks like, folks.
Yeah, I wasn't in Australia, but they have banned social media for young people because they really understand the mental health effects, and it's not worth it. So that's their approach. Obviously, in the EU, they're much more stringent with GDPR and data privacy. That's been their approach, is to focus on privacy. In California, we've got more stringent notification laws around privacy. I think, I guess I look at it this way. I was mentioning my parents, they could articulate when they were alive the quality of their lives pre-Civil Rights Act and post-Civil Rights Act. And I've always felt that policy was so important because it really over-determines how your life will go, what will be legal, what will be illegal, what opportunities will be foreclosed, what opportunities will be made available. So we can't minimize the role of regulation here because it really sets the stage for what is possible. Now, we had at one time a lot of momentum building with the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau here in the United States, the Federal Trade Commission really going after the discriminatory technologies and really holding. Well, now the CFPB has been abolished, as of January of this year. And so that is going to make a huge difference over what's possible. Of course, the onus is always pushed down on the consumer. But, this is like telling the people of Flint, Michigan, don't drink the water.
Right.
I mean, that's just unfair to say, well, you had a choice to be poisoned or not.
Right.
I mean, that is just, that's untenable as a proposition in my mind. Of course, we will try the workarounds, but in general, not only are people kind of living with poisoned, dangerous products, but they exist alongside, people who use other kinds of AI and other kinds of data products and projects in very meaningful ways. They're working on those to find a cure for cancer or to address climate crisis or to understand changing weather patterns or to study migration. So it's a disambiguation that needs to happen in these spaces that's very important. And that's one of the ways that people feel powerless, is because they're like, well, it's just AI and it's here and there's nothing I can do. But actually, if we disambiguate and we start talking product by product, application by application, group by group, then we have a lot more power to say, oh, well, maybe we don't want kids to have access to Nudify, which is an app that allows people to take the clothes off of someone, right? And this is a product that's targeted at teenagers and young people. So I think we can all agree we don't really want kids to have Nudify.
Right. And amplify that
And
voice.
the only people who want Nudify out here is Nudify.
Right.
You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? So like we've got this new wearable technology called Friend. And it's a little wearable, and this device is hanging like a necklace around young people. The target market is young people, listening to every single interaction that they have, and then commenting. And in some cases, encouraging kids to harm themselves. And so you have to look at these things. Character AI, another really dangerous technology. So I think that is where we get powerful. And this is why it's so important for us to have scholars and journalists and comedians and everybody talking about what are these things and how do we regulate product by product.
And conversations across different, not just domains. I mean, I love talking to these guys, bringing the comedian and artist, but even within a place like UCLA, is the North Campus, South Campus divide still a thing?
It is. And I got to say, we're sitting in this space, which is this new Data X initiative at UCLA. It's nascent. And the idea here is that we bring together people, North Campus is where our social scientists and humanists and artists, people in education.
We used to say that the squirrels on North Campus are happy and dancing, and the ones on South Campus where the engineers hang out are like doing equations in their head. That was it was a big divide. Like the weather would change too. It would be like raining and gloomy over there, and you come here and it's like sunny. And people are like,
it's basically like comedians and improv groups.
Oh,
You
is
go to the
it?
improv group. is
People asking
happy.
Are they
flowers.
happy? They're having a good time?
You go to the comedians, just miserable, sad in the dark corner. Be like, why is that guy happy?
Why is this cloud hanging over my head?
Why is he?
sorry.
I don't know. I feel like I like that whole scene. I love. I don't know that I'd make that divide, but certainly our South Campus is more of our engineers, our med school. We are really trying with this initiative to bring these interdisciplinary conversations together. We've got this space here on campus. We're trying to have events and just get people talking across fields. I mean, I'm one of the directors of Data X, but I've got a colleague who's in statistics and does fundamental data science, and another who's in computational medicine, and another who's in archaeology and like classics and the humanities. And we come at these conversations, obviously very different perspectives, but we're trying to learn and nuance what we know and share again. And I've learned a lot from them about where there might be applications of big data and data science that could be helpful to humanity. And I probably mostly annoy them. But, I do try to say, well, what does it mean if we use big data and data science applications in medicine when we have these huge histories of like medical apartheid and discrimination against women and transgender people and people of different genders and ethnicities and race? If the data we use in these models, medical models, is based on discrimination, historical data that is baked and loaded full of discrimination, then we're going to have to actually deal with that because we're going to predict all the kind of past discrimination into the future with those kinds of models. So we wouldn't know that if we aren't talking across fields. And that to me is the very exciting part
That's
about
super exciting.
doing what we're doing.
If I may just add too, right? Because the beautiful thing about this is we're saying that there's AI or technology in general intersects in every industry, from medicine to entertainment. In every industry you see it intersecting, and the question becomes how much of intersect do we want, and also what could we learn how to regulate that, right? But at the same time, I also notice even even when we were at Northwestern during that conference, there were speakers.
Samir came to our center lunch.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
beautiful,
nice.
and I was
Love
able to, see a lot and learn a lot, and just have different unique perspective. And one of the perspective was that everything in internet was just prehistory data that someone just put it in there. So whatever the internet's giving you is someone's narrative, someone's how they saw it, how they read it. So then the thing is that for our generation and the generation to come, we look at anything on the internet as factual. We don't question it. We're like, well, that's what Google said. Okay, cool. And then we go about.
He's killing me, and he doesn't even know it.
I know. This is.
Right?
She's not gonna sleep well tonight.
I have failed.
I mean, I've learned to be like, okay, well, let's slow down. Where did you get that? And you got to kind of you have to filter out if this is actually true or this is someone's narrative.
Well, listen, that's the thing that's to me, the hot conversation right now about large language models and these kind of generative AI models is it's flattening so many things. So, okay, you're telling me that you scrape the whole internet and all the subreddits, and that's equal to or equivalent to your research. It's not the same. And so, this lack of disambiguation between any old thing that gets written on the internet and a scientific study, I mean, we have a vested interest in science and evidence and truth in a university because we understand that knowledge needs to be made to help people. Right. And that's not the same thing as like a screed on the internet in a subreddit.
Right.
And so if you train a model with just everything on the internet, you really don't get the kind of disambiguation that we need. And so that to me is also a really important conversation to be having. When people interface with these models, they actually can't tell. In fact, some of these models will make up studies that they're calling it hallucinating, but they just make up studies or make up case law, in the case of the lawyers who use these systems. And so that seems pretty dangerous as well.
I wrote this article for the Los Angeles Review last year. It was published about our podcasts and the role of comedy in academia. And I just as an experiment, and I was doing some stories about, interactions with comedians on college campuses, because there's been some tense moments, right? Like Nash Patel, one of my favorite comedians, had this famous thing that happened to him at Columbia University, where he was doing stand-up comedy, and he was hosted by, I think, this Asian American student group, and he did a joke that they didn't quite understand. That was anyhow, and they pulled his mic. And he's like a pretty progressive stuff. And he ended up writing an op-ed in the New York Times about it. Anyway, so I'm writing this, I'm kind of narrating some of that, and I was like, what other interactions have happened between high-profile comedians and college campuses? I asked ChatGPT, and it gave me this completely fabricated story about Richard Pryor at Notre Dame or something. I'm like, and at first I was like, really?
Wow.
This happened? And then I dug in. There's no record at all. And when I prompt, I'm like, hey, did you make this story up? Yes, I'm sorry. I made this, just complete,
Wow.
how readily it can not just hallucinate, but just make shit up. Is going to be, and then the fact that now this is entering into the scientific process.
Listen,
and there's not really mechanisms to know.
Right. I saw this meme on the internet that I shared with my colleagues at the UC San Diego Medical School. I went to talk to them, and the meme said, a whole generation of medical school students are about to go to med school on ChatGPT. You better eat your vegetables.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, yeah, right. Because I don't think I need someone doing surgery on me who got their degree, who got through med school on ChatGPT for exactly that reason.
That's actually pretty
It's
horrifying.
It's actually not funny.
Wow. That said, so I believe Algorithm of Oppression is available to buy now.
Everywhere.
And that is regular book format and audiobook. I'm a fan of reading with my ears and then telling people
It's
that I
not
read
me
it
reading
with my
it,
eyes.
but it is available on Audible.
Perfect.
Yes.
We have Data X, the initiative that you're on the spear tip of as well, and anything else. The school year's about to start, so there's nothing but opportunities. Is there anything else that our viewers here, because I think a majority of the people that are going to tune into this are already going to be more so fans and supporters of you than they are of us. Is there anything else that they can look forward to that you're ready to reveal?
Besides your stand up.
That you're ready to reveal.
Well, I will say that this has been a pleasure. I really enjoy talking to the three of you. You are super smart. You're welcome here anytime. I think the more we can tell stories about our humanity, the more we can express our humanity and love on each other. And I know it, maybe it sounds old fashioned, but I actually think that's the antidote to the hyper technical world that some would want us to live in. We can't lose touch with the highs and lows of life and with each other. And we have to keep creating and keep telling stories. So, doing comedy for me is probably one of the most vulnerable things that I have done in a minute.
Tell me about it.
Oh my gosh. And being a learner again.
Right.
And
I love that shift.
It's everybody be a learner again in life with something. And keep at it until you get good at it, so you know whether you even like it or not.
I love that, by the way. I
really
you said
believe
that a couple
that.
times now.
Yeah,
because it's don't just I remember my father used to tell me this. Don't just say you don't like something because you hit a rough patch.
Because you're not good at it.
Right. That's a cop out.
Yeah.
Go for do something. Give yourself a chance. And then decide. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's right. I think we need to take more risks and take more risks on each other. And that will be part of what pulls us out of these systems and, lets us, like Mike is doing, live that full, beautiful life on the edge. So thank you.
I love it. Thank
so.
you so
This
much.
has been
Thanks
an
for letting
amazing
me be
time.
here.
We can do it for hours.
Appreciate
I think
you
we're going to
guys.
have more in the very near future. But from myself here at PCWB, I am your co-host, Mike Knight.
And I'm your co-host, Samir.
Guys, and I'm Sepehr. It's been a pleasure to be here back at UCLA and with Dr. Noble. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you
Big
guys.
shout out.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
you.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank
Talk
you.
to you guys. Peace.